This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:06 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
Is he supposed to still be in here?
He's the first presenter, yes.
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Bradley, present. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Present.
Trustee Doyle,
Present.
Trustee Gavin. Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, next up, we have approval of the agenda. The only items of business tonight are finalist presentations and the community Q&A. A debrief of the finalist candidates and then closing next steps. Can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Questions, comments, concerns?
We can't hear you.
You have the floor. Can we have tech assistance for Gavin's mic? Did you have a question or just, okay. All right. The motion was made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin, Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Up next, we have the review of our Board of Education norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will start our meetings on time. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next up, we have public comment on an agenda item. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment now? Just so you guys are aware, there is a question and answer period this evening, as well as an opportunity to give us public comment after you've heard all candidates. All right, hearing none, we'll proceed. Just a reminder of our protocol, as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Our first item of business are our superintendent presentations. Each of our superintendent candidates will have 10 minutes to present. Following their 10-minute presentation, we will have a 15-minute question and answer period with the public where you will be able to ask some questions directly and they will answer. Each of our candidates, other than Mr. Dace, are in a separate room, so they will not hear his presentation. And then after he completes his presentation, he will go back to another room and we'll bring in the second candidate. So without further ado, we introduce to you our first candidate, Mr. Jeff Dace. You have the floor. And then so you're aware, each of our candidates have put together a super brief PowerPoint presentation of about 3 to 5 slides, but they're going to tell you their vision and what they bring to Benton Harbor area schools. You have the floor.
All right. Good afternoon, Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education. Good afternoon, community members. Gives me great pleasure to be here tonight and for consideration for superintendent of schools in this great district. I know I have my presentation. No clicker, right? Is it a clicker up here?
She can click for you. You ready?
Clicking for me? Just say click. All right. Moving Benton Harbor area schools. I didn't even say click. All right, moving Benton Harbor area schools forward. Proud candidate Jeff Dace. Click. All right, student performance. Now, of course, coming in as a superintendent, you want to look at the data. You want to see what has been going on to propel us into the future. That old saying, you can't understand where you're going unless you know where you are now. So usually if we're presenting student performance data in such a way like this, as I pulled off of the website, you can see by the grades, number assessed, advanced or proficient percentages. Kind of low, not kind of low, it is low. But for example, I changed my approach to presenting data a couple of years ago because I have been in districts that have been identified as low performing. But I'm a strong proponent of, even if districts have been identified as low performing, you have to find those highlights within that district. And there's a lot of highlights even within districts identified as low performing, and I'm sure there are in Benton Harbor area schools. Because if you look at this data, you actually have single digit numbers when we're talking about performance from 3rd through 7th grade. We go up a little bit to double digits for 8th grade, but also single digits for 11th. My style and approach to going over the data and finding those highlights, you can see in the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, click. This is my approach to data. Profile. Now, going back, looking at those single digits, we have to identify what's the profile of those students, those single digit students, and getting the grade, getting those students who are advanced or proficient. What are their academic performance? What is the cognitive and learning characteristics of those students, where we can get from teachers and talking to other stakeholders that have had the engagement with these students? What are their behavior and emotional skills, enrichment and involvement? For example, are they working with certain tutorial centers within the district? And what are the teacher comments? What can we glean from this? We can glean the highlights within the district. Now, you use those profiles for the district and you start slowly but surely gradually increasing that throughout the district. So yes, we all know I can be here and say, okay, 90% of the students are not performing at advanced or proficient. However, with that percentage, you got 10% that are. We have to start highlighting the good within the district and slowly replicating that. So if we get profiles of the students that are actually performing, now we may capture a parent that is actually engaging with their student full time. You have that parent present to other parents. You may have some uniqueness within that student that you say, hey, they're using this tool or they're using this resource. Then we bring that into the school and try to instill that within them. So I want to get down as much as possible to those groups of students and those individual students who are actually performing. And now let's try to replicate that. Coming in, we look at talking to the stakeholders. I talked to some of you all tonight. We discussed curriculum. One of the questions was, I said, well, do we have a curriculum? Came back with, do we? That is telling. A lot of times you come in and people mistaken curriculums for programs. Curriculums, we want to make sure we're following standards. What standards are we following that's aligned to the M-STEP test, to the SAT, to ensure that we are designing those activities, we are designing those lessons that when students are taking those assessments at the end of the year, it's not a smack in the face, that they know and they've had some engagement with those. And again, it goes back to my first interview. This is going to take time. It's going to take time where I come in, I see what's going on, I hear what's going on, I have those recommendations for improvement, I have strategies, and I think I have a wealth of strategies throughout my career as, assistant superintendent of teaching and learning, being in various districts where I've been over academics, where I've been over social and emotional development, where I've built those relationships. So it's going to take time. However, We have to have the commitment of the board, the commitment of the community to say, hey, we're all going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to not only find these highlights within our students throughout the district, but we're going to invest the money and invest the resources and make sure that we can replicate that. So year one, we might be looking at, you saw some single digit numbers. We may go from 3, we may go to 10, still a low number where we're talking about progress. And you highlight that. I've been around the district and I see some of these in the lawns, you have edu staff. We need substitutes. Well, what about highlighting those students that are actually advanced or proficient or who have made drastic growth and saying, this is a student that made great growth this year, or this is a student that was advanced or proficient. Now they bring the good because they have their friends talk to each other. If their friends are accomplishing that, man, I want to be like that as well. You take the sports teams. When we go into these schools, how do we know these students are the ones that are advanced or proficient? Just like you put banners in your gym room, let's put banners in these buildings. Let's put banners in our central office so we know and we can identify those students that are high achievers, and then we can replicate that. I think we underestimate when people talk about peer pressure, they always talk about it in a negative way. But peer pressure can actually help when they find out, oh, the student that I hang with every day is actually doing this. What are they doing? I want to get on that level too. They're being celebrated. I want to be celebrated too. So that's part of the approach of getting down to the individual students. I talked to some students today. They gave me valuable insight just on, I asked them about the good, the bad, and the ugly of attending Benton Harbor area schools. And they gave me that insight. We are adults that we talk a lot about how to improve schools and how to improve student performance, but we don't get down to talking to the students and drilling down to them enough. Also, we got to celebrate the current success. I just mentioned that with students who are performing and the history. I'm sorry, go back. I'm messing you up because I'm not saying click. All right, this is the click. That's my fault. All right, so these are some names, and just talking about like bringing them back and letting them tell their story about students. Matter of fact, I was at Chick-fil-A today. Now, he talked to me a little bit too long, but it was an engineer that actually came from Benton Harbor area schools. And he was just talking, and I took his number down. His name is Tony. I told Tony I'll reach out to him if I'm just so blessed that they select me for superintendent. But we need to have those stories and bring them back in front of our students so they know. I'm a big proponent of touchable role models. Somebody that actually came from where you are that is being successful. So we bring them back to talk to our kids so our kids see them right in front of them and say, yeah, I can be successful coming out of Benton Harbor area schools, no matter what the state says, because gradually we're going to be making that progress going forward. Great. All right, and how do we do this? Upgrade the story. And I say upgrade because we don't want to erase it. Benton Harbor has a great story. There is a lot of pride. Everybody I talk to in this district, when I go around in the community, they talk highly about the schools. So we don't want to erase that. We want to upgrade the story when we're talking about Benton Harbor area schools. New version begins now. How will we do this? Stabilize finances and manage facilities. Increase enrollment and boost community engagement. Again, it's going to take a village. A lot of people say they want change. A lot of people say we need this. But when that critical decision comes, then are you going to turn your back? Or are you going to say, because as superintendent of schools, I'm going to always have the why. I'm going to always front load you with why we're making this decision. It's not personal, but this has the best interest of the students and the staff at heart for Benton Harbor area schools. And sometimes those are not favorable decisions. Well, favorable for the district, but some people may not like it. Invest in teaching and leadership. Leadership matters. Teaching matters. Again, going back to that edu staff, we need certified staff members, quality certified staff members. That's how we're going to move this needle. Because regardless, when people look at Benton Harbor area schools, they look at the state report card and they look at how you're performing in the state. Yeah, but we, through the communication department and through our communication, we need to continue to highlight, but we got to make sure not only in district, our in-district assessment curriculum and all of that are aligned to the state assessment. So we're all headed in the same direction. We don't want to hear this talk where we're making strides on our internal assessments, and then when we get to state assessments, we're still hitting the floor. So we got to make sure we look at that, we do the backwards mapping, we do that alignment, and we make sure that we're headed in the same direction when we're talking about academic achievement. Planting and keeping great teachers. Again, I have teachers again. We're only as good as those teachers. We are an educational institution. So we need quality teachers. And I told someone again, student first. Yeah, we say student first, but we need quality staff, quality teachers who have that student first mentality, that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that that student reaches their full potential. That's why I applied here. That's why I'm here. I'm willing to do that work, and I just need people to be on board with me. Elevate instruction and academic performance. Again, when we're talking about, and that goes back to, we talk about attendance and enrollment. When you got a good product, they're going to come. But we got to show that we're constantly making strides and we're making that progress. For one, will be in the school. I don't have a problem engaging with the principals, engaging with teachers, engaging with students. So yeah, they can tell that story of, man, my superintendent does this. My superintendent does that. Some of the times those are the stories that teachers will come back for because they want to feel supported. Teachers need to feel supported, and that when they come here and you're asking them to do the dirty work of academic achievement and increasing that they're going to have the support along the way. Ensure accountability and collaboration. That first word, everybody say they want it. Accountability. But accountability is not nice all of the time. It doesn't feel nice all of the time. But that's where those relationship building come in. So people know up front, these are the expectations. Hey, if we go here, this is what you can expect. If you go there, this is what you can expect. Having those conversations before we get down to what they call difficult conversations. Not necessarily difficult for me, but if people have not been engaged or not used to that, it becomes difficult for them. So you got to think about the people that you're working with. And I am, a people person where I don't want anybody to feel surprised or feel shocked, but you will get the expectations up front. This is what we're going to do. Hey, we hope that you're along for the ride and that you can meet these expectations. And then that collaboration. Superintendent can't do it alone. Teachers can't do it alone. Parents can't do it alone. It truly is going to take a village, but you got somebody here before you that's willing to do that, that's willing to put in that work. And like I said, willing to do whatever it takes to make sure Benton Harbor area schools is making those strides. That it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight that we're identified as one of the greatest, making the greatest growth or one of the greatest districts, but it can happen. It can happen. And you got to believe in that because you have someone in front of you that does believe in that. Overall goal, sustainability. We don't want to just get there in 1 year and then drop off the next year. No, we're talking about sustainability. So anybody that leaves our schools, they know this is the expectation. This is the culture in Benton Harbor area schools. We don't accept less, we accept more, and we're going to hold you to it. And that goes for adults, that goes for students, that goes for parents. This is the culture. So when I say upgrade the story of yes, it can, and we will do it together. Thank you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we now have open Q&A for the public. So if there are any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Dace, now is your opportunity to ask. Please come forward. All right, thank you so much. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
And if you could state your name. Currently with family in high school. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for your presentation. Really got some good notes from you. Pause for 1 second, let's listen so we can get the mic. Try again. Okay.
I'll just talk from back here, if I could. I have several questions, but I'm just gonna ask one, and then maybe we'll get a sidebar. Some more, but how do you plan to build trust and consistent engagement with families, with the students, and with the greater Benton Harbor community?
Well, nothing is easy, but that's kind of an easy one. I'm overly visible. And I think visibility, even without saying it, a lot of times is translated to that you care and you're willing to step where we're stepping and you're willing to be with us. So coming in, I'm coming in and seeing what's going on, like I said, talking to those stakeholders, seeing what's the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's working, what are some suggestions for improvement, and not necessarily making changes, but making my list of, okay, this is something that maybe needs to be tweaked. Now going doing my research or reaching back into my repertoire and saying, okay, this is a strategy that may work or may help. Just like I said, front loading with a lot of stuff. If I'm going to, when I make that decision to change or tweak things, then there will be a why behind that. And I think a lot of times when you decrease the surprises, that builds trust and that builds that buy-in that, hey, at least he's willing to come to us and talk to us and give us the full story behind just making a decision where people are feeling like this came out of left field. So I think talking and, like I said, being visible with the communities at events, I think that goes a long way with trust, especially for me, because I'm not here. I'm not from here. And that matters. You know, I have to come here and see the community, get a feel what's going on, but that's going to take time and that's going to take a lot of engagement with the community and the stakeholders.
Very good. Thank you for that. And one follow-up question to that. Can you give us a couple of examples of what has worked for you in the past, coming from the assistant superintendent of academic, what your previous title?
I have a lot of them.
Okay.
But, I used to be over teaching and learning.
Teaching and learning. Okay. What has worked for you in the past in terms of family and community engagement and building? Because we have very strong teachers in our district. But I think one of the biggest issues is we have gaps, right? We have gaps between the families or the care providers and then the community. So I just kind of paint us a picture of what you've seen that has worked very well. Like you would say, we have to implement this. We have to bring this over from what I've worked with in the past. In terms of using your support team within the district.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we have to bring this, but something that was dynamic in the previous district when I was in Decatur, and I was just talking to someone about the curriculum, and we were talking about, I'm a big proponent of early childhood education. I think you need to instill those skills and have that foundation at the early childhood level. One of the things that I did in Decatur was the Before Day One initiative. So everybody that was pregnant, we went to the hospital and actually engaged with them, and the district gave them books. And we partnered with, it was a community organization called Baby Talks in Decatur. And while we're giving them academics, they helped them out with prenatal, when they had the baby, Pampers and stuff. So that's like partnering with a community organization, because educators know, but parents don't know, that if you have books and you read to your kids while they're in the womb, they come out with a better vocabulary. What are we hearing about? All of our students are coming with deficits,
Right.
deficits.
Right.
So we actually can decrease that before they even get here. But we are the educators. A lot of people put a lot of that on the parents. They're not educators. So we have to use our expertise and use our strategies to help them out, which ultimately can help us out. Less deficits coming into the schools. Teacher can teach closer to grade level and get them on board. And we have a better student coming from that. So that's one example.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, I believe you had a question?
Thank you. You said a lot. And I heard a lot.
Thank you.
I heard you say some things that I'm hoping that not just you, if chosen as superintendent, but our board members as well. For many years now, my brother's keeper, the birth baby of Obama, just added my sister's keeper. We've been working on this thing for years, and we are trying our best now with this new administration, we're at a standstill, but Obama has made it possible, just like the Black universities, at seeking funding for them, more is becoming available on another level through my brother's keeper. The plan was to put this into our schools and work with the scholars that are studying in our universities to come into our schools locally and work with our children, and lighten the load of our teachers, you as superintendent, and your administration under you to do some of the data search and a lot of other things. And I'm hoping that if chosen, that you will take something like that into consideration. Everybody doesn't know it, but everything has shifted and changed, and we are working at becoming a certified community for the Obama Foundation. And I'm hoping that you will take something like that into consideration, because a lot of other communities across the nation under Obama's foundation is doing the same thing. Michigan is unique because we have aligned ourselves with other communities within the state of Michigan as a whole, being that we were the state that was put under emergency management under all of the communities of color. We chose to stick together and to try to do some things to ensure not only the safety, but the well-being and education of our babies. And I'm hoping that you, sir, would take something like that into consideration if chosen.
Yeah, just like I said, that goes back to relationship building and engagement. You don't listen to people just to say, no, I'm not considering that. Everything that comes is on the table for consideration. So thank you for the information.
All right, any other questions from the public? Okay, so we have about 3 here, 4, okay. And just if you all could be mindful that we only have 15 minutes of time for question and answer, so if you could get straight to your question. So I want to make sure that you do get an answer.
All right, this is the question that I have. With the property that we have, would you lease it or would you sell it? If you become superintendent, would you take a look at what the district owns as a whole, or as property wise, and would you sell it or would you lease it?
Well, I can't give a definite answer now. One thing I would have to look at is, are we acquiring any revenue off of that land? And then that's part of doing that 3-5 year projection as far as with your budget. So tentatively, if we're not making any revenue, then it goes back to the consideration of, hey, maybe we need to sit down as a team, as a committee, and decide what we're going to do with this. If we can possibly make revenue off of it, then that can benefit the district. Those are things that we would consider when we're talking about going forward as far as selling or leasing the properties that we have.
All right. We could go to Mr. Bishop.
How y'all doing? My name is George Bishop. Mr. McAfee, how you doing, big bro? I see you slide in here. My question to you, Mr. Davis, how you doing?
How you doing tonight, sir?
Not just during the school year, but also during the off season, like primarily the summertime. What's one of your remedies, if not the remedy, a remedy that you may have that could be effective with dealing with not just a simple level of black on black crime, but also some as complex as post-traumatic slave syndrome, dealing with extreme feelings of suspicion, negative motivations, and violence against self, property, others, even members of one's own group? And I ask that question because as a basketball coach and mentor, I've been getting a lot of text messages this week. A lot of our youth at odds with the community, their peers, and their parents. And the only people they can reach out to is me and my other coach at the middle school, because they feel like the public school is not giving enough support during the summertime.
You kept talking, man, because the first part of that blew me away. But great question. But what I can, if it's impacting our students within the district, something that has worked for me is, again, it goes back to talking to those teachers, talking to the administrators within the building. Who are your high flyers? Who are the ones that maybe you've had issues with, bringing them in over the summer? Or if you're saying the students are coming to us expressing concern out there in the community, then we do the community outreach. As I said, I'm highly visible. I'm not stepping anywhere where I don't feel safe or I don't feel comfortable. I've already been around Benton Harbor area. I walked yesterday in the 90 degrees, and I can do this. I can do this, and I can engage. I can engage with the community. So that's not an issue. But when you say it in the off season, there is no off season. As superintendent of school, there is no off season. Yeah. So like I said, in the community, stumping the grounds, I'm not afraid to go where you all are and have gone, but I like to be proactive. You know, we're talking about, some people think of the summer as the off season, but having engagement, talking to those youth, talking to the community members, getting insight on them of why don't you feel safe or why you don't you feel comfortable, and then as a committee or a team enacting an action plan to address that.
All right, I believe Ms. Cease had a question. Okay, and then we had, I believe there was one more, and that will be the last one we'll have time for. So Ms. Cease?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your presentation. Have just a couple quick questions. What is your position on field trips for students outside of the community? And then the other question would be, describe how you would work with principals in a district this size.
My position on field trips, frequent, many, and get them out. They need exposure. As a principal, my kids went to San Francisco, New York, LA. My last year, they actually went to Puerto Rico. We had a group. So I'm a big proponent in exposure. And that's not necessarily saying that it's not anything here, but you need to broaden their horizons and let them know that it is stuff outside of Benton Harbor. We do want our students to compete locally, but you want them to compete on the national level and if possible globally as well. So they need to know it's more out there than just Benton Harbor. And that's not a slight on Benton Harbor. I just believe in exposure and engaging with principals. As they say, that's my jam. Leadership matters. I believe leaders are the key component within a school district because they are the connect between the central office, Board of Education, and the teachers. So we need principals who have that savvy, who have that know-how to make sure they are developing their teachers. So they are providing that quality instruction for our schools. Ultimately, that's how we're going to go up. So yes, superintendent of schools, but principals and that leadership within that school is a key component. And we got to make sure we're building their capacity as well. So they're dynamic throughout this process also.
All right, and then one final question.
Sure. So I have questions and
Oh
comments.
no, she got the heated question.
So I just need you to ask your question now, because he only has 15 minutes, and then your comment, you can be made later.
So we know that literacy is an issue nationwide. It's an issue statewide. It impacts all kids, not just kids at Benton Harbor area schools, but our kids are disproportionately impacted at high rates because they're Black and they come from impoverished communities with disadvantage. And so I love how you had our stats up there on the board. You had particularly third grade. I think we had 4 kids or 5 kids that were proficient and 4% proficient. But I want to look at Berry and Risa because Berry and Risa community had 10% of its Black children proficient in reading for the 2024 or 2023-2024 school year. So that problem is not just here. So what the issue has been, or what the solution has been, to get parents involved. I'm a parent, I'm always involved. My kids learned how to do letter sounds, knew how to do CVC words before they came to school, and some of them came to school and still got left behind. And so how do in schools, when they come into schools, how do we increase literacy outcomes for all children? Because like I said, it's not just a problem in our district. The problem is everywhere. And so we have a lot of kids that come in with a need disproportionately high. And so how do you lighten the load for teachers and students that need to get effective, efficient, and equitable instruction in our district?
And I think I mentioned that earlier. I'm a big proponent of early childhood education, but I also talked to a young lady who is a community resource. So you got to utilize your resources and not just feel like it's all on the teachers or all on the schools. Yes, that's a big majority of our jobs to make sure that we do that. But maximizing resources. A lot of people don't like to say tracking, but when our students are in kindergarten, where are they at? And as long as they're showing that incremental growth where when they're in third grade, they're as close as possible to that grade level, then I think that's progress. Because again, we're talking about state scores. Yeah, they may be identified at that, but I'm not going to go up to a student and say, oh, you're a low performing student. No, You need growth, you need progress. We're committed to helping you. And as that student, whether it's small or it's large, we got to celebrate that growth and celebrate those highlights with them. And gradually they're going to see, you're going to turn that extrinsic motivation to intrinsic was like, oh, I get celebrated when I'm doing good or when I'm growing. And you'll see eventually they go from kindergarten, they may be here, but when by the time they're in third grade, hey, they're close to grade level or at grade level. And gradually we're going to change those single digits into double digits. And we keep doing that. And I think we'll get more and more buy-in. Now people are seeing, oh, Benton Harbor is making strides. Let's go back over there to Benton Harbor. They got resources. Their teachers feel like they're being supported. So that's going to increase our enrollment and it's going to increase our certified teachers. So it's a domino effect. But again, it takes a whole village.
Thank you. And I want to have one more comment. I'm sorry. I know we got to move on.
I can't.
Okay.
Is it a question or just a comment?
It's a comment, mostly because like I said, the proficiency is low across the board. The state of Michigan is 17% Black kids. Barron Reese is 10% Black kids. And so what is your example of moving a district into the proficiency? Like how do you plan to get our proficiency from these low numbers? Or not how do you plan to, but what is your evidence that you've done this for another school?
That's part of that curriculum. I answer this real quick.
Do you have data from your other school?
Oh, I got
To
great.
show, do you have the data that you show the proficiency
Okay, so ma'am,
when they started?
great
get
data.
one question out and let him answer that question. And we really don't have time for the second question, but I'll allow him to wrap this up. And just again, for the public, we have to get straight to the question. And I appreciate the background and everything that you all are giving, but I want you all to keep in mind that these are extremely educated individuals that have worked in the field of education for years, and they have done their research on Benton Harbor area schools. So they have the background information. I want to focus on you all's questions. So go ahead if you could answer, if you have examples, and then we'll wrap up.
First of all, we have to do that review. Do we truly have that curriculum? And then we embed like proficiency scales within there, where we have what we can do with students who are below, what we can do with others, what we can do with students who are above level. When we start, but all of it has to be aligned to what they're going to be assessed on when we're talking about the state assessment or internal assessments. So that's just one approach. And then when you talk about data, I've moved a school 700 students as an elementary teacher. I've moved the district with the most identified in Chicago level 1 and level 1+ schools, 12,000 students. So data, I can move data. I can show, I can train teachers and principals on how to do that. But again, it's just going to take time. So I don't have enough time to show you all of that or answer all of that, but I got strategies to address that.
Okay, and then Dr. Collins, if there were some members of the public that were not here for the meet and greet, so if you could do me the honor of just refreshing the public on who Mr. Dacey is, like you did at the meet and greet, and then we'll do that at the end of every candidate. Just in case we have a few people that were not here at 5.
Definitely. This is Mr. Jeff Dace. Jeff is the Deputy Superintendent of Schools in Rock Island Milan School District in Illinois. He has been and served 9 years as a central office administrator, 9 years as a principal, 5 years as an assistant principal, 4 years as a classroom teacher. Jeff has done a lot of work in high poverty schools and districts and has seen a lot of achievement take place as a result of the work that he has done. He is reportedly organized. This is what his references have said. Uses data sets to drive decision-making. He's a systems thinker. He builds positive relationships with families and students. I know that Jeff has done a lot of work with young Black men in schools that he's worked with and has started groups for men of color or young men of color to really get them to feel good about themselves and to really move forward as far as achievement is concerned. He is someone who is kid-centered, develops systems of accountability, led DEI work, related well, and fights for communities of poverty. And he also created PLCs. That's what some of his references have said about Jeff. So he has a long history of doing work with Chicago Public Schools and in other districts outside of Chicago.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can give Mr. Dace a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then Dr. Collins, once each candidate has gone, they can choose to leave or they can choose to stay through the end of the meeting. It's up to them. Okay. All righty, so that is Mr. Jeff Days, very excited about candidate number one. We will be receiving Dr. Simone Griffin shortly. They just have to get her from her room. And she will also be giving a 10-minute presentation followed by a question and answer period. That's fine. You can talk about her while she's coming. So she's going to give Dr. Simone Griffin's introduction as she's entering the room.
Okay, Dr. Simone Griffin, she is Regional Director of Learn Well Educational Services. She has spent 2 years in Central Office Administration, 1 year as a director, 5 years as site leadership experience. What her references have said is
Dr. Griffin, be over there.
that she unapologetically fights for students. Highly articulate, stellar communication style, clear and goal setting for herself as well as for the teams that she works with. She's passionate, relational with colleagues, families, and students, always focused on students first. She builds others up. She's a voice for students and parents. In the classrooms, she goes in daily to learn about what kids need. Someone stated that she's one of the smartest people they know. She's data-driven. She also is a decision maker, and she is involved in transformative, collaborative endeavors and understands change management. So without further ado, I present to you Dr. Simone Griffin.
Hello, everybody. Because I only have 10 minutes, I'm going to get right to it. One of the things I want to say prior to us moving through the PowerPoint is coming out of the pandemic, we all knew that there were challenges, right? What we didn't know as we left that pandemic is that our children were really suffering, not just academically, but socio-emotionally too. So one of the things I'm going to talk about today is we know what we need to do. The question becomes, how do we do it? We know there are challenges, but what framework are we going to put in place to systemically and comprehensively address all the things that our children need? With that, I want to unleash to you the tiger spirit. This is my presentation and my proposal. You could go to the next slide, please. So while we don't have a silver bullet to solve all the problems, there is a framework that is research-based that will help us with the how. We know the what, but this framework, Miracles framework, that framework helps us with how we get there. Once our strategic plan has been created together as a team, we know what we want to do. The Miracles framework will help us with how we get there. We all know that when we plan a trip, we going wherever we're going, we always map out how we get there, whether we want to take the tollway, the highway, or the streets, and where we're going to stop for rest breaks, right? We plan that out before we even get in the car. Well, with the strategic plan, this is our continuous improvement plan that helps us be able to achieve what it is we want to do in terms of student outcomes. And so I'm going to unpack those. I can't see very well, but I'll unpack the letters. Miracles. M stands for motion towards excellence. I, improved instructional core. R, relevant and rigorous coursework. Dr. Griffin, feel free to take the mic and move to where you can see.
Thank you.
Yes,
So
get comfortable. You,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I
Okay.
appreciate that. I'm not a podium
person anyway. A is attract and retain high quality staff. C, commit to accountability.
L, learning environments that support student success. E, establish expected targets driven by results. And then S, of course, sound fiscal stewardship. And then I have this quote that is incredibly important to sort of ground us in this work. We need to understand that every child is gifted. They just unwrap their packages at different times, and sometimes in different ways. Next slide, please. I'll very briefly unpack these. So with the M, motion towards excellence, this is us looking at our enrollment, making sure that through community strength and educational innovation, we make sure that Benton Harbor's existing community pride and family commitment to education is always prioritized. By implementing that strategic enrollment and management plan, we make sure that we know who's in the district, how we can support them in the district, as well as bringing those babies that left the district back. But what's important to know about motion towards excellence is the verb motion. Urgent work has to be done. As I was talking with the teachers before, we have 180 days in the school year. When you subtract the holidays, the breaks, time off for mental health, your ankle broke, kids not coming, we don't have a lot of time. So the M for motion is urgency. And that undergirds every other component in this framework, making sure we don't waste time. I, improved instructional core. This is where my teachers come in. We have to make sure we affirm them in ways that they feel comfortable and they have self-efficacy. You know, that self-efficacy means this, I can do it. Right? There's a lot of challenges before us. You know, you have to do with mental health. Back in the day, all we had to do was read right now, right? Well, now we have to provide social emotional support. We got to have gifted and ELL instead. Well, guess what? We have to make sure as a leadership team that we provide our teachers with the professional development support that they need in order to be successful. So we can't just ask them to review unit plans. We can't ask them to understand and be able to unpack the standards if we don't first make sure that they get the support they need in order to do so. So with the improved instructional core, that's our professional development excellence, where we provide them with multiple opportunities for job embedded professional development. We know we can't come bring somebody in and pay them a bunch of money. They come in and do one thing and then they're gone. Right? So we have to maximize our money. How we do that is we make sure that the teachers have an opportunity to develop their own plans and we can find out what they know. And then we share that among best practice. I may be really, really good at looking at data, but I have some teachers that are really good at intervention. Maybe they are the ones who present to the rest of the team around how to build that skill set. So really making sure we leverage what we have, looking at those standards, unpacking those standards, so we have that rigor there. Next slide, please. Relevant and rigorous course of study. When we talk about relevance, we understand that when you want to close this test scores, you can do so with project-based learning. So we're not just learning in isolation, right? Because when you go out to work, they don't say, hey, I want you to do this reading. No, whatever your task is, you have to incorporate multiple types of skills. They're not separated like that. So with relevant and rigorous course of study, that's where the innovation comes in play. We have to be much more intentional by reviewing our curriculum to ensure that there's rigor. And rigor just means that our kids are given that productive struggle. I know if my kid is operating on grade level, I'm not going to give him the same work I give to a baby that's not reading on grade level. It has to be rigorous at their level and then relevant. They're not going to always care about Shakespeare. So how do we make sure that we introduce 1619 and hip hop into the curriculum, but that there's rigor there? That's that culturally responsive piece. We prepare our students for college and career readiness success. And then A, we attract and retain high quality staff. As I mentioned earlier, we've got to make sure that we're cultivating the capacity of our teachers. But here's the other thing. We can't do that if we don't start with a foundation of respect. We've gotten to a place in our society where the teachers are not affirmed and they're not respected like they used to be. We have to make sure that's where we start. You can't go to Walmart and cuss somebody out and not get handcuffed. With that being said, we make sure that we affirm them, that they have the opportunities to share best practice, but they also have the opportunity to make sure that they can get together as a team and work together. affinity groups, being able to get together and not have to talk about data. Because when you get to know me, that's all I'm gonna say. Because if it's an adjective, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear artifacts. It has to be numbers for me. But there has to be spaces where they can let their hair down and be able to vent to each other about what this experience is, because it's not easy, right? That's our attractive retaining. And we provide the grow your own. This Ben Harbor's got to be a place where we're going to work, learn, and lead. C, commitment to accountability, systemic excellence through clear expectations and support. Here's where that robust accountability comes in. We're transparent. So we know exactly who's doing what when. Everybody's clear about the expectations. So the accountability is in place. And so what does that mean? My school leaders, my principals, and my APs, they're in those classrooms. Their school work plan, they're being held accountable for those every interim benchmark cycle. They're going in classrooms and they're giving ongoing feedback and coaching so that teachers know where they stand. And by the time we get evaluated, nobody's shocked. Right? So we know the goals and we know how we're going to evaluate those goals. And we want to make sure that everything is all about evaluation. There's ongoing coaching and support. That's where the commitment to accountability is, not just for teachers, but for the board and the community as well. We have to share what's happening inside the classroom. Why? Our most important project is there. Our kids. So we can't be secretive. We must open our doors to ensure that there's transparency. We won't have a problem with the accountability if you're honest. That being said, let's go on to L. Comprehensive mental wellness and positive school climate. I can't learn if I don't think my teacher likes me. There's a lot of research, you guys, in the middle school area in particular, where the teacher-student relationships trump your parents. They start listening to mama. So if the teachers don't think your kids can learn or they ignore them, that plays a role in how they see themselves. And so we have to have an identity affirming environment where they get to be who they want to be. They decide that, not us. So in that environment, everybody gets a mental wellness plan. We build everybody up so that you don't have a problem with bullying. And we're making sure we're nipping those things in the bud. So we have the opportunity to have a safe and supportive environment. That way we can maximize those minutes in order to get the outcomes that we want. But we can't do that if everybody hates to work, or people are jealous, or there's a toxic work environment. We have to cohesively collaborate. And that's what we model for the kids. Right? And so when they come in, they already know how we do school, because of what? In my classroom, I have an ambassador who helps that child feel comfortable and welcome. I can tell the kid, here's what you need to do, here's where you need to go. Also, for my parents, we have Google Classroom, so they know exactly what they have to holler. You don't have to ask Ray. Why set them up to lie? Open up that Google Classroom on your phone. Oh, you have algebra tonight. I look forward to seeing that soon. That's exactly right. We make the learning environment one that's positive because it's strengths-based. Our kids will find out where they are on any given subject. So they know that they have some stuff that they're good at. That no child is bad at everything. You start with what they do know and cultivate what they don't know. That's what helps build a positive school environment and climate. And above all, we make sure the building is clean, orderly. You gotta be on the floor. We don't clean up the company, we clean up for us. All right? Let's go on. Preach. Establish expected targets by results. Here are the ingredients for how we unpack the strategic plan. Remember, the strategic plan is what we do. We're going to raise our attendance scores. Our attendance. We're going to move it from 82 to 85. Here's where that gets unpacked. That means for every school in their school work plan, they have an attendance goal, right? That's where that happens. And we look at those metrics through our data dashboard every week to find out how they're moving those scores and provide them with that ongoing support. So everything isn't gotcha, but it's also support. But we find out sooner rather than later. We don't look at the data at the end of the year when it's too late to impact it. It's dead data at that point. Babies have already failed. But with the expected targets that are driven by those results, we can also find out sooner rather than later where we have to course correct. Because it makes no sense to be teaching the same way, doing the same thing, and the students still fail. The data will tell us if we're on the right track, if we're close, or if we're bombing. And we get an opportunity to make those changes because guess what? I believe in reality checks. Let's talk about what reality checks are really briefly. Reality checks are the opportunity for you to find out where the kids landed on the standards with the assessments, whether it is NWA, ILAN, or any other type of interim benchmark assessment. And it helps you to backwards map where the kids landed so that you can make the changes in the classroom so that the student still grows in those areas. So if I'm in second grade, I'm taking a map. I know what my RIT score is. I know that I'm working on word knowledge or phonemes, phonic awareness, wherever I fall in that strand, so that those targets are being looked at through the data, but not just the teachers. Students are setting goals too. Parents are coming into family night to be educated about where their kids are. Students are going to learn how to lead their own report card pickup, student-led conferences, because they'll know their scores as well according to the state standards. Every classroom should have a real-time data wall, and the school-wide should also have a data wall. We know where we follow ACT, SAT, step, reader. Whatever the assessment is, we should be very clear about what the goal is according to the school work plan, coaching and support, and evaluation by the end of the year. By the time we take our state test, there should be no surprises. All right? And then, of course, we monitor the money. Sound fiscal stewardship. We're strategic with our resource management for maximum student impact. We know we will. With that, we have to be incredibly strategic with every dollar. Here's where I believe we have to be careful and be mindful of the different companies that we bring into our district. One of the things that I was able to save in my previous district was I created a program manual, a program management manual, where I evaluated the vendors that came into school. Yeah, because if we're evaluating teachers, if you're coming in my building and you're working on my kids 2 days a week, I'm connecting you to the strategic plan. Right? If I'm committed to accountability, so you said you're going to help me raise my third grade reading scores. You're going to close that gap because as a school, I have a goal, right? If I've got that goal and I brought you in to help me close that gap, then Dr. Griffin want to see you. Let's talk about your data. Because if you don't help us raise it, like you said, in your scope of work, right? You're at the meetings too. You're at reality checks too. And you're presenting on how you're closing those gaps for our kids. So we can get what we call ROI, return on investment. And then we can determine whether or not we renew your contract for the next year. I'll close with this. Miracles is the how. We all come together to fill in what goes in each of those pieces. While I have ideas, I would be more than honored and excited to work with each of you on our community and our board to ensure that through miracles, we achieve all our objectives for every student to be able to be college and career ready. Thank you for your time.
All right. All right, so Dr. Griffin, our community is going to ask you questions for the next 15 minutes. And as a reminder, we're going to get straight to the question and not take 2 minutes to build the foundation for the question. Just want to make sure we use as much time as we can. We'll go with Adams, Ms. Adams first. Raise your hand, Ms. Adams.
Sorry. Raise your hand so they can see.
Thank you. And thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
You said a lot, and I'll just stick to the question. Foundation already been laid, but I will give it to everybody at the end. I heard you say a lot. My question to you would be, are you willing to work with the scholars in the universities free of charge to Benton Harbor area schools to act as counselors that we no longer have and keeping up with the data and earning towards their masters, bachelors, or what have you, and teaching our children at the same time, free of charge, through my brothers and my sisters keeper with the Obama Foundation. As we become a certified community, those are the things that we will have available to us. Are you willing, if chosen, as Benton Harbor Area School Superintendent, willing to allow?
Now, why would I say no to that? Why would I say no to that? Y'all coming with the 5-figure discount? Yeah, let me just find a human capital later. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting it for free? Absolutely. As long as they're certified through the state. There are policies and laws we have to adhere to. I'm not trying to go to jail. I'm too little. So I just want to make sure that if you come, it's fine. We got to make sure that we're adhering to the laws of Michigan and the policies from the board. Because, yeah, I can't fight. I'm from the suburbs.
All right. Great presentation. I'm blown away. Thank you so much. I'm Cindy Goodson again. Question for you is, how would you, if chosen, would you have, let's say there are research projects for grant funding being on the research projects. Let me tell you why that's wonderful. I was over research, accountability, and data for my district. So I was the person who oversaw research practice partnerships. It's a great, listen, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. They're amazing. And I think Andrews is a university or something like that. You already did that. Let me tell you what they do. They're wonderful in the sense that if you allow them in the district, they will give you funding and access to their research. That's one of the things that we're missing, especially our marginalized school districts. The research that comes out, it goes to other districts. But when you bring them to your district and you give them access to your students and access to the classrooms, you get access to that research and that information. It's free. What about doing the research in-house? How would you approach the IRB? If I, for example, we're going to go out and do a research project on our district, I would have connected to our gaps. Yes. I would connect to our gaps. For example, we are losing kids, right? This district had over 2,200 kids. We're sitting at 1,200. So that's one of my priorities. So where I plug in the resources is going to plug in those gaps. So that's where you should, because that's going to go into the strategic plan. I don't care who you are or what you do. Even me, I'm connected to one of the components in the Miracles plan. Right. And so, sure, you're welcome to come and work with us, but whatever you do has to plug into the plan. And one of the plans, the priorities are, we got to increase our enrollment. We got to bring our babies back to our district. Right. The other thing is growing our teachers. So if you have something around that, that will be helpful. You have something around helping our babies get literacy and being on grade level. There are multiple ways that partners can come with, especially universities can come in and help us to close our gaps. Project-based learning. Yeah. Wonderful. Professional development. That's right. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. I have a question in regards to what would be your experience or your game plan in regards to community engagement and being community involved. Like we have a commission, we have grassroots organizations that provide services, resources. How would you tap into us?
As long as you all understand that I'm TLC and I'm not too proud to beg, I'm coming to everything. Yeah. When you come to those organizations, I've done it in every role I've ever been in. I've had to go and work with the community. With community engagement, it's wonderful because it's an opportunity to find out what's happening outside of the district and being able to connect and soften those walls. So the community is one of the best ways to help close opportunity gaps because they usually have access to information we don't have. And in many cases, it's grants, it's opportunities, it's money. I've worked with multiple nonprofit organizations where I definitely would not have known about some of the opportunities if I hadn't connected with those organizations. I've presented to those organizations what was happening to the school because in many cases, the community organizations, they feel slighted. They feel excluded. So I go to their meetings and I present on what's happening in the district and I ask them to come in because many times, this is what happened when I was a principal on the west side, some of those members are retired. in those nonprofit ones, so I can get them to come in and help us with what those things that we have. So when you talk about opportunities and engaging community, absolutely, because many of them are still excited and still vital, even though they're retired, to come in and help us with the work that we need to get done with kids.
Real quick question. Our teachers are amazing at Benton Harbor. I feel like we have some of the best teachers in the city, best teachers in the state. We come to our schools and we provide a lot of high needs for our kids. A lot of my kids, by the second week, they're calling me mom sometimes, and that's a lot to take on. And so how do you plan to support the emotional, physical, and mental wellness of teachers that are giving so much to our students?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are multiple ways I run. One of the things I talked about were the mental wellness plans. When kids start the school year, everybody should have a talent portfolio. One of the major pieces of that portfolio that they fill in is an assessment for their socio-emotional needs. There are surveys and assessments, there's panorama education that will ask the kids questions about their experiences. And then we develop a plan for them, the wellness plan, to help support them and them to learn how to support themselves through their educational journey. One of those great things are the grief and loss therapy. There's a national organization that provides resources for children who have suffered loss. We are connecting with those organizations where they can help us with the strategies. Here's the thing, we don't have to have all the answers, but we do need to be tenacious in going to find them. And so when we talk about the emotional piece, that's one piece. But the other piece is connecting in the project-based learning, social emotional learning standards. Our teachers need to know where they are and look for ways to incorporate them in what they teach. So kids have an opportunity to learn self-awareness and self-regulation. That way they can say, oh, I know I'm feeling stressed out. I'm going to go to the calm corner. There should be a room, a corner in every classroom, in every building, where when the kid starts to feel dysregulated, they're empowered to make a choice for themselves and their body to remain in control. They can go to that calm corner and get regulated through skills that they've been taught from us or from a part of the organization, so that they don't feel powerless. Because we know when a kid is dysregulated, it's because they're frustrated and they're unable to communicate their needs, but it's still communication. So we start there. The other thing is PBIS. You guys have that in your district. We make sure that we're providing positive behavior intervention systems. We're starting with what the kids can do, not with what they can't. The other thing is restorative practices. I invented this particular document. Every time a child is removed from a classroom, they get the opportunity to tell their side. Even when you get arrested, you go in the room and you get to write down what happened, right? Well, that very same thing is going to be available for our students and put in the system. The student will have their say, the teacher, everybody's involved, but the student will get the opportunity to complete a discipline infraction form where they get to tell their side. And that's when the investigation is conducted. So it's not just one-sided and we take one person's word because that's the adult. As much as I love my adults, I've been in this game since 1998. And unfortunately, nobody here, nobody here. But some people lie. And so we have to be equitable in our investigations to ensure that our children are not harmed. Those are restorative practices too that we will employ. Crisis prevention. There's training. You can be Crisis Prevention Institute certified so that we know what to do when our children are struggling and they're having a crisis. So we don't have to be mom, but we do need to have some components that we're trained in to know how to funnel that baby to the right place when they're not in a space mentally to be able to handle what's happening to them. Does that make sense? Very good.
All right, any other questions from the public? Mr. Bishop?
How you doing?
Well, thank you.
One thing I didn't mention to you earlier while we were speaking, while I was incarcerated, I taught classes and facilitated on several things: self-love, leadership, cognitive behavior theory, and things like that. My question to you is, in the district that's understaffed and with risk between the principal and HR, they restricted the principal from hiring certain teachers, even some from Andrews University. Would you be open to hiring community members like as volunteers to come in and help in any position in the school? Like,
yes, of course, as long as they clear all, background checks and state regulations. Why not? You have a child here, you're one of the coaches here. Sure. we would definitely welcome you back to help us close some of these gaps. You would be a part of that strategic plan.
Yes, ma'am. I asked that because I have a robbery.
Bless you.
Bless you. I got a robbery, but I don't have a drug case or anything against women and children. I was allowed to volunteer as a coach, but I was restricted to volunteer for anything else because of the personal issue I had with the prior superintendent. And I asked that because my community activism prior to, in advance of working with a couple of the board members and several other people that's here in the room, and they can attest to my character and my track record publicly and privately, and as well as me having my own nonprofit and my LLC for a public speaking and podcast organization. I feel like my input should be valued, and I'm more effective than some of these teachers in the classrooms when I come into the school building.
Okay, that's something we would look at.
Thank
you. Absolutely.
Any other questions from the public? We have about 4 minutes, so we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Is there anybody that has not had an opportunity to ask before I go to Ms. Adams? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you. We have all these schools, and what I've learned in the years is that me, myself, is a visual learner, and our children are as well. We have all these schools, and if Tyler Perry can take 2 bathrooms and make it to where he is right now, can we take or think about taking one of these schools, using our city's Brownfield Authority Board to invest in starting filming with our youth? The city worked with the school once upon a time with the radio station, but can we think outside the box on something like that?
I would love to. That's
Thank
CTE. In my prior life, I worked in radio. My first degree is in media communications, so I absolutely believe in radio and television, but I also believe in a lot of other opportunities because it's not about what I like, it's about what the kids like. So when we talk about CT, we have to have more pathways for them to be able to develop who they want to be. Remember, this is an identity affirming curriculum, right? So it's totally fine to want to be a plumber. You know how much they charge? Yeah, they're not poor. They're not poor. Then you want construction, whatever it is, you want to be a pilot. We have to make sure that we give our kids enough choices, enough pathways, so they get to decide who they are. So I'm open to all of it, as long as it's something that's structured in the strategic plan and we got the money.
All right, and we have time for 1 last question if there is a final question from the public.
So with your presentation, it was really thorough. I almost feel like I don't need to ask anything else, but can you give another example of community engagement? I know you referenced going to meetings meeting with them, pulling them in. What does that look like? Is it they're able to come and be in the building as support? They have regular meetings where they're combined with board members. What does that look like?
Well, it looks different. It depends on the organization. What I've done is I've met with them. I'll go to their meeting, introduce myself, talk about my vision, possibly do a presentation and leave some literature about the school district. Then I would get information from them. I attend their meetings, or they can come into the district if they want to partner with us. It really depends on the organization. There have also been nonprofit organizations where I was able to plug them into something we were missing. For example, we had math scores. Our middle school kids, we had to get them ready for the algebra test they needed to take before they graduated. One organization was able to come in and do an after-school program with our kids, saving us that money for us to be able to give more kids by the end of the year ready to pass that test. So it depends on what the organization offers, but above all, I go to them, I introduce myself, the vision for our school, talk about my goals and what we plan to do for the year, and then they share with me what they are, like what is their mission, what are their goals, and we find that alignment. Where do we connect? And that's where we build a relationship to go forward to help the kids. Okay, does that answer your question? Awesome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please give Dr. Simone Griffin a round of applause. Thank you so much. We're gonna, if it's okay with the board, we're gonna take a quick recess while we get our third candidate. It is 7:20. We'll return at 7:30. Okay. We are returning from recess as of 7:35 PM. Dr. Collins, you have the floor.
Okay, for those who were not here for the meet and greet, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our last candidate, and that is Dr. Dallas Lee. He is a Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services and Opportunities at a school district in Illinois. He has also been Instructional Director for middle schools in Prince George's County Public Schools in Maryland, adjunct faculty member of Johns Hopkins University School of Education from 2019 up until the present. He was a former principal of Prince George's County Public Schools and resident and assistant principalship, District of Columbia Public Schools, Community Academy, Century City Public Schools. So he has been identified as someone who is a big supporter and mentor, a great listener, has many tools in his toolbox, is a teacher for all, teacher for students as well as for adults, highly organized and structured, understands systems, sees the big picture, and is goal-oriented. He's someone who served as a principal and assistant principal for 10 years and has served 3 years in central office administration. So without further ado, I introduce to you at this time, Dr. Dallas Lee.
All right. And Dr. Lee, feel free to take that mic and move around if it's a little bit easier for you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dallas, and I am honored and grateful to be with you all this evening. Before I share with you my vision for educational excellence for Benton Harbor area schools, I want to frame for you my thinking, because when thinking about the specific vision for Benton Harbor, there were 2 beliefs that stood up in my mind that stay with me all the time. Belief number 1, children deserve an excellent educational experience, especially children of color. Second, when our children leave us and they leave our high school, they should be able to go anywhere, do anything, and be whoever they so desire to be. You know why? Because we would have equipped them with the skills and the confidence in order to do just that. So I ask that you journey with me this evening as I take you on the journey towards better together. Now, when learning about the district, I had the opportunity to read through board meeting minutes, watch the board meetings, and meet with individuals within the community. If we can go down, please. When learning, I came up with 6 priorities for Benton Harbor area schools. What we know and what we'll do. First thing, governance shifts have created fragmentation, slowing focus and weakening public trust. What we'll do, the priority. Please keep in mind on the right are our priorities. Priority number 1, unify leadership, clarify direction, and center students. What we know, number 2, inconsistent instructional expectations across classrooms limit equity and weaken college and career prep. What we'll do, priority number 2, anchor teaching in equity, coherence, and post-secondary readiness. What we know, number 3, students want to feel safe, proud, and seen in class, on stage, and on the field. Third priority, anchor safety, belonging, and connection in culture and practice. It's who we are and what we do. Next thing that we learned, we risk losing talent when systems don't support growth or connection. The priority, grow our people and keep our people. Next, we have a 24 million reserve. But aging buildings and rising costs require urgent, disciplined investment in what matters. The priority, ensure fiscal stewardship, operational discipline, and trusted follow-through. And the last thing that I learned, families want more than connection. They want to be seen, heard, and included as partners. Our last priority, build systems that invite, inform, and involve families at every level. That's what I learned. Those are our priorities, the things that we'll do. And now let's get into the how. If we can go down, please. Now, these were supposed to unfold out so it wouldn't be so much text to read at one time, but I'm going to go from priority 1 to priority 6. I won't read each how because those are our strategies, the what we'll do. I am going to concentrate on the ones that I'm most passionate about, if that's okay. Good. Strategy number 1, unity, leadership, clarity, direction, and centering students. First thing on our mind would be to reset and align early governance agreements so that way we work as a team on behalf of our community and our young people. Next, bi-weekly alignment touch points with the board president so we always stay on the same page. And lastly, quarterly student-led briefings on the board. I found this as an opportunity when looking to build trust within the community to give young people the opportunity to every quarter come before the board, just like we have the opportunity to share their input, their perception, their experiences, because their perceptions and experiences matter and we can learn from them. Second priority, anchor teaching and equity coherence, post-secondary readiness. I'm going to go right to making sure that we have an instructional essentials guide. So that way, throughout the entire district, per grade level, per grade band, we know what good teaching looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And this isn't something that I will create in isolation. It's working with principals. So that way, at the end of the day, we have coherence and we remove inequity. So if one young person wants to go from one Benton Harbor school to another, they get the same learning experience. That's the goal of the coherence. Third priority. And I invite you all to, if I don't touch on them, write them down. I'll definitely talk about them when I get there, okay? Third priority, anchor safety, belongingness, and connection. I'm going to jump to the one that I'm most passionate about, and that is PBIS, restorative practices, and age-appropriate discipline matrices. All three must work in tandem. You have to be able to restore the student when they made a choice that's not so great. You have to have clear discipline expectations and PBIS systems and structures. And by PBIS, I don't mean parties all the time. It's teaching young people how to behave when they come to school, the Benton Harbor way. Next, priority number 4, grow our people and keep our people. I'll talk about the two that I'm most passionate about. 1, the Benton Harbor area schools burnout index and action loop. Teaching is hard. Teaching has gotten harder. And I will never be able to take away that pain that comes from working a very difficult job. And just as difficult as it is super rewarding. But we must tap into knowing what our teachers are experiencing and staff members before they burn out. So it's my belief that we can, on some quarterly basis, take an index, ask questions, and this all boils down to me, learning conditions. I do it currently in my district where we give a survey out to teachers. We learn about their teaching and learning conditions, and then we, as a leadership team, do our best to shift what we do so that way the conditions are just a little bit better in a job that is super, super difficult, because research shows that it is that classroom teacher that has the most impact and influence on young people in that classroom. Next, fall stay interviews. It would be my goal to, in the fall, learn how people are feeling about their experience working in the district. So if we're doing something right, we do that thing well, and if we're off the mark, because those first couple weeks starting school are really tough, we can fix it. The goal is to grow our people and keep our people. Next, priority number 5, ensure fiscal stewardship. Facilities forward tracker. This is what I'm passionate about. I understand the state of our buildings, and I understand the financial toll that it's going to take to make sure that our buildings are in a better space. I do believe that there needs to be some way for the community to know that we are aware of the state of our buildings, and not just the state of our buildings, but our plan to make sure that we are addressing some of the more immediate needs so our buildings are conducive for teaching and learning. And I believe it should be forward-facing. And lastly, build systems that invite individuals in to feel like they're a part of the community. And this is where I'd want to do family councils and feedback loops. One thing I've learned about the district is that there are certain families that don't feel as connected with the district, specifically our Latinx families. And so it would be my goal to create some form of a council. I can learn from our Latinx families. I can learn from different families in different neighborhoods. And then I have feedback loops. Once I've learned, then we'll do, then we ask how it's going. And that's cyclical. We do that all the time throughout the year. I'd like to go to the next, please. This is my first 100-day plan. Month 1, Tiger Table Talks. And that's just a nice way of saying I'm going to be everywhere all the time listening. And it's not just to listen, but it's then to take what I'm learning and do something with it. And we'll get into that in month 2. Within that first month, I'm looking to learn about district safety and facility. That's an audit. So upon coming on board that first month, I want to do a walk of all my buildings. Are they ready for young people? Are they ready for students? Are they ready for teachers? Are they ready for staff? Are they safe? That's my principal mindset. So it's not just one building, it's all of them. And then what in those buildings are the top 5 priorities that keep those buildings from being as safe as we get ready to go into the fall and the winter months, where HVAC can or cannot be your friend. Next, governance and community one-on-ones, making sure I have a touch point with board members in addition to first responders in the community, sitting down, getting to know who they are, my student government association leads, the union president, so that way we are all on the same page with how we communicate. I won't go through all of them, but please feel free to ask questions because I did put some time into it. I'm going to go into that second month, align. So once I have spent some time learning what that first month is like, that second month, I want to make sure that we tackle things that we can actually do, the quick wins, 10 things, if you will, and then report back out to the community. I want to go to this third one here from month 2, the culture and climate systems launch. Being new to the district, being new to the area, I have high expectations, and I have a vision for how our young people will acclimate to what we expect in our schools. So it would be my goal to create a committee of individuals where we have alignment between PBIS, restorative practices, and then very clear consequence expectations per school that are grade appropriate. But that's not work that I'd want to do in isolation. I'd want to get it started with committees. I want to go to my last column, month 3. This is where I'm starting my instructional walkthroughs in buildings with principals, because I need to know what instruction looks like, sounds like, feels like, because that informs my professional development for and with teachers, for and with school leaders. This is work that I've done in the past as a principal supervisor, supervising 12 different middle schools. Doing that work with principals allowed me to better understand the learning they needed, then preparing them to teach their teachers. And lastly, council feedback loops. Once I have the opportunity to sit down with different constituents, it's then creating feedback loops so I can share with them the thing that I learned, the thing that we did as a district to get better, and then we just keep that cycle going throughout the entire year. The goal is to get better at getting better. Can we scroll down, please? I want to leave you with this quote. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. That is who I am as a person. I believe that tomorrow is today, and children, specifically children of color, deserve an exceptional educational experience. And I believe it because I received it growing up on the south side of Chicago. Very quickly through these pictures, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, Earl Elementary School, and decided to become a teacher because of my first grade teacher. And I saw how much energy and passion she put into the job, and I went on to be the first in my family to graduate college. From there, teaching on the south side of Chicago, becoming a principal in Prince George's County, Maryland, and then scooting on down to the bottom. One of the things I'm most proud of is earning my doctorate, the first in my family to do so. But here's my belief. Like, my story is not an anomaly, but the fact that I'm able to do these things surprises me every single day. Every day. I'm shocked right now that I'm standing here in front of you. But it should not be shocking. Because children deserve. Not only do children deserve, but it is our responsibility, a moral imperative, if you will, to give our young people, who, in my opinion, sometimes are the furthest removed from opportunity, our very best. So when they leave us, they can do what they want to do, be who they want to be, and go where they want to go. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Dr. Lee. All right, so we're gonna now open it up for questions and answers. All right, you have the floor.
Please.
So my question is, what is your knowledge or experience with the science of reading and teaching as it relates to increasing literacy outcomes for all students?
Sure. In full transparency, it is not the space where I was trained, the science of reading. And while that is not the space where I was trained, I do understand it is the way that we should be training our teachers. So at this space now, seeking to serve as the superintendent and understanding that the science of reading is best practice, it's me looking at the resources that sit before me, the budget side and human capital side, to organize those best practices supports for our young people, because right now, looking at the data, reading the research, the science of reading is the way to go to make sure that our young people are reading at better rates than they currently are and have been in the past.
Next question. Okay, we'll go to Ms. Adams and then.
Thank you. And thank you.
No, thank you.
You are a perfect benefactor of what Obama birthed when he brought forth My Brother's Keeper.
Yes, ma'am.
And congratulations for being the first in your family.
Truly appreciate that.
You're the type of leader that he spoke of. Are you familiar with the milestones that he put together?
Not intimately. I do know he's done deep work to improve community involvement within different spaces, but I'm not intimately aware of the work of that
Okay,
course.
actually, throughout the earth,
Sure.
he has,
Yeah.
even in other countries.
Indeed.
Very much so alive, although things have shifted, and I just hope that all listening ears will refresh by Googling what those milestones are.
Sure. I appreciate you for sharing. And having met you earlier, I do know you're super passionate about making sure that our young people have access to these
Very.
opportunities.
Being the
So it
mother
would be
of
my goal to
six.
partner with
Very.
you to make sure, along with administrative procedure, we are doing what we can for our young people through those types of programs. I remember. Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions from the public? Ms. Seats? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll come back to you. Okay.
Thank you. My question is, how should this district curriculum be split between college prep and vocational courses or programs?
Sure. So I believe often that multiple things can be true at the same time. And so it would have to take me doing a little bit of research. But what's commonplace is that young people have opportunities to explore those vocational tracks through either after-school opportunities or through weekend opportunities or through special programming within schools. We'll have to take a look and see what are state obligations. That's our first North Star, is making sure that we're following state expectations for the curriculum. And then from there, we see where do we have a little bit of room for nonlinear thinking, nonlinear planning, where are the resources that can be made available so young people do have the opportunities to engage in those more vocational practices of which you speak. But our first obligation is to make sure that they are prepared according to state guidelines. And it is something I do believe in. Very quickly, I did my dissertation around just like ways to engage children of color, specifically on the secondary level. And research noted that when children are engaged deeply inside of school, they are more apt to perform and excel academically. So I'm with you, but it would just take me doing a little bit of research to see what do we have to work with and what under what confines can I have a little bit of flexibility to give young people the opportunity to be more engaged in school. I'm with you.
Hi.
I'm saying yes, like I'm holding the mic. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi. I've heard you mention vision and mission a lot during your presentation.
Sure.
And in a community like ours, it's very important to us. Coming in as a new superintendent, what are your vision and mission personally with our district? And can you highlight 3 key areas of focus that you plan to address coming in?
Yeah, can you ask that one more time so I can understand
Yeah.
the mission vision part?
Yes. So I would like to know what your personal mission and vision is coming into Benton Harbor area schools, and if you could highlight 3 key areas of focus that you'll address.
My mission is to make sure that every young person for whom we are responsible has access to an enriching and rigorous educational experience. So that way they can say, I love my school because that's my mission. My vision is to make sure that young people come to school, they are safe, they are loved, and they are taught well. That will be my vision. Safe, loved, and taught well. And from there, it opens up the doors for them to then buy into the mission that I have. But when students feel like they are safe and loved, they'll rise to the occasion. And you had a second part to that. Sure. Yeah. Sure. First for me is safety. Safety and belongingness. I'm going to put those together. Second is making sure that the staff who do the work, regardless of position, are well. You have to take care of your people, especially in an era where it's difficult to find good people. And my third thing is to make sure that we are engaged in a form of continuous improvement. It would not be my goal the first year to have systems and structures in place for continuous improvement. That is work that I have done in the past where we work on getting better through systems and structures and cycles. And it's a very rigorous process. We won't get there yet. But my first year is making sure that we have an eagle-eye focus on getting better. And what does better look like? So that's important to me. Continuous improvement.
All right. Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Bella, thank you for that question because I want to dovetail. You mentioned that your three key areas, and my question was actually two parts. First, how do you plan to make our district safer? Because safety is a big concern for students, parents, staff, right? And then how do we get safer in the districts, particularly the high school, because this is where I work, but not, I think it's the most, at this point, it may be the most lacking in safety. And then number two, how will you attract and retain these high quality educators and staff who are both academically and effective and cultural components in serving the Benton Harbor students? Now, they're academically effective, but they're culturally competent for our specific, unique body of students.
Thank you. I'm going to approach the how around safety first. I'm not going to use the phrase Google me, but I served as principal of one of the most challenging schools in Maryland where they could not keep a principal and there was a revolving door. And I was assigned to that school and I ended up staying for 5 years, but the space in which I walked into that school, it was unsafe. And that was the first thing on my mind, which prompted me to think in that space today. So when I think about the how then, and wanting to transfer that experience to this one, it's first reviewing all forms of data before school even starts. I'm looking at the infraction data. I'm trying to get a qualitative understanding of the student experience. I'm doing walkthroughs of the building to monitor flow. Like I'm sitting down with principals to say, okay, if you're having some issues with safety, what do your transitions look like? Like I'm going into the weeds with the principal to help them think through safety expectations for their building. And then that's where it comes into play, like I was discussing earlier, making sure that we have clear expectations for conduct in our buildings. It's becoming aware of them. And if they don't exist, we have to teach them and hold students accountable to them. But I want to be clear that alongside holding students accountable, we have to care for them at the same time. So it's doing an assessment of where we are, making sure principals understand where those blind spots are that keep the building from being as safe as possible. Because in my principal mind, I'm thinking about arrival, dismissal, breakfast, lunch transitions, afternoon dismissal. Like I have that type of awareness that I'm helping principals think through. But I want to go into something a little bit deeper here because it's not about just making sure spaces are safe and students have consequences. Students have to have schools that they are proud that they go to, where they're engaged, where they want to make better decisions. And that doesn't happen overnight. So I want to be clear in saying that that's my vision, but that is a very slow moving process that one I've engaged in before. I love doing it, but it takes technical work and adaptive work where you can change people's hearts and minds because it's not always the kids. And that takes a little bit of work because our kids don't come to us perfect. And how do I attract and keep good teachers? I'm going back to when I served at that school, challenging school. I had a very low turnover rate. And whenever I would go to a hiring fair, because I know some of my old staff members are watching now. Hi, y'all. I was competitive. So if I knew there was a hiring fair, I was there an hour early, sitting there. This was before people had to be super creative post-COVID. If I knew there was a hiring fair, I brought out gifts for the folks who agreed to sign up to come to my school, because I was clear with them. This was one of the more challenging schools, one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life. So if you agree to come on, I have something for you, a little gift, and I'm making a big deal out of it. I mean, I'm going crazy every time because I wanted to create that sense of competition with my peers, because they're looking around like, how does this guy at one of the worst schools have one of the most robust staff? My people didn't leave me. Well, when it came down to attracting, it's getting as creative and not being afraid to make good trouble and taking the risks to find the people. So we got to jump in our car and go down where some folks know they may not be going back to next school year to their school and say, hey, come talk to me. We do those things. Before everybody had to start using the internet, I created my own videos and started sending them out to people saying, would you mind just coming and talking to me? Taking people out to breakfast, listening to what they need in the school and doing my best to acquiesce to the type of leader they need. And when it came down to keeping people, you know, I just believe in my people. I spent time with my people. I did my best to develop them to where they would not want to leave. And when it was time for them to leave because they wanted to excel and do better, I gave them all the room to do so. But at the end of the day, I expected teachers to care for our children. And it was my responsibility to care for my adults. That would be no different in this role. Some of you might be just a little bit older than me, and I'm still responsible for you. Your entire person. So you don't have to leave a bit of who you are to the side when you come to work. You get to come to work to be who you are every single day. And it is my job to grow you. So you're better. So one day you go out and you make school systems better because of the work that we've done. So you keep your people by knowing them, taking care of them.
All right, so it's about 8:02. We have 3 minutes left. We do have time for one more question. Well, we do need you to have a mic because it's recorded. We want to make sure that those watching virtually know what's being asked as well.
Perfect. We have a high level of violence. How do you approach addressing an anti-violence awareness or movement, or what have you done in the past? Because you said you worked in similar districts or rough districts.
Indeed, that's the only type of work I've ever done. And I don't ever want to think that we can disconnect the violence that young people experience outside of school from their school lives. And so that is what I mean when it comes down to talking about like the heart and mind work, because we need to work with staff so they understand that young people come to school with everything that's in their book bag that we see and things that we may not see that are in their book bags. And so that requires training. So we know how best to respond to the needs of young people who experience violence outside of school. And we have social emotional supports built into the school day somehow. It may not exist right now, but it is something I believe in, and it is something that I would need to organize in this work I've done in the past. I also want to acknowledge violence inside of schools. And it's a multi-pronged view of the situation. One, it boils down to engagement. But two, students may just need to be taught how best to restore when there is some form of a misunderstanding or a disagreement with someone else instead of resulting to violence. And I know that may sound like a quite lofty goal, but I believe that our children can learn those behaviors. I believe our children can learn the language. I believe our children can learn the dispositions to solving conflict and conflict resolution differently. It's work I've done in the past, and it wasn't easy and it wasn't always sustaining because the young people would be great for weeks. And then we come to school the next day and it was them full moon days. And we were like, did we even do the work? It's being clear that we're going to have these ebbs and flows. That's the reality of it. But we can't lose sight of what is possible, the traction that we've gained, teaching and reteaching and having super high expectations. This is my last thing here. This would be my work with school leaders because research shows that the teacher has the most influence over the student. The principal has the most influence over culture and climate. So it is my responsibility to make sure that those principals understand what the culture and climate should look like, sound like, and feel like in their buildings. Be it culture expectations, culture walks, the PBIS piece, it is co-creating that with principals. But I can't even act as if I can be responsible for what that looks like in each building, but those leaders can and will. And it's work that I have shared as an expectation in the past to principals that I've supervised, and it would be a non-negotiable coming into this space. Not because of the need, but because of the expectation.
Okay, Mr. Bishop, I'll allow for your last question and then that'll be it. Did you still have a question? Okay.
My question, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my question for you is, we live in a climate where most people aren't willing to plant a tree if they can't enjoy the shade of it. And in this district, as well as other majority Black and brown areas, there's a history of certain leaders in position, rather be in the mayor's office, city hall, city commission, or school boards, that they make decisions that benefits them specifically and financially, as opposed to the benefits and the well-being of our children and parents. And my question is to you, how would you navigate a climate like that should a situation arise? And would you be willing to do the right thing, even if you should lose the support of the people that surround you, longer this in the well-being and interest of our children?
First thing that came to my mind is keep the main thing the main thing. I'm not here for title or pay. I'm here because of the moral imperative that young people deserve. Young people deserve, and I have a skill set and love for the type of work that needs to be done. So keep the main thing the main thing. And in this case, the main thing is me focusing on making sure that our young people get what they need in order to succeed and thrive, and make sure that our staff and teachers get what they need in order to succeed and thrive. And at the end of the day, making sure my integrity is intact. Because I've always thought as a principal that I need to be able to lay my head down at night and be able to sleep peacefully. That's the number one thing I've always held on to, is if I can go to bed at night and sleep well, I know I'm doing the right thing. Now, I'm not saying that the work won't be difficult. I know what I'm signing up for. That excites me. I'll talk to my therapist about that. But I'm
all right. So ladies and gentlemen, we have for you Dr. Dallas Lee. If you could please give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. So we would like to thank those of the public that we know that everyone in the community is busy. Most of you have worked all day, have children and relatives that may need you, but you actually took the time out to join us for the meet and greet as well as the Q&A. And that means a lot to us because these are very important decisions for us to make, because we know that they not only impact the district as it stands, but it impacts the trajectory of the district in the future. So we thank you and we honor you for your presence this evening. We are going to open up the floor for public comment shortly, but I did want to give the board an opportunity to debrief if there were any comments that the board would like to make at this time. You will have closing comments at the end. You can choose to just marinate on your thoughts now, or you can choose to give comments. I did want to give the board an opportunity to debrief. If no one has a comment, we can go straight to the public. All right, so hearing none from the board, I just want to make sure that you all are aware of our next steps. So I do want to take this time, this is probably going to catch him off guard, but I would like Dr. Christopher Burning to please stand. So as you all are aware, it is June 24th. Dr. Butts is no longer our superintendent as of June 30th. We are planning to take our formal vote at our Tuesday, July 8th meeting. So that means that there's going to be a window of time where we will not have a superintendent in place that 8 days. And then after that, we have to negotiate a contract. So that means there's going to be a short window of time that we do not have a superintendent. The board did select Dr. Burnick as its interim superintendent for that brief time frame. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge you here for being willing to step in the gap and stand there for us during this transition. So I just wanted to honor you as well. So as stated, we do have our 3 candidates, which you all have heard. I hope you all understand now why they made it to the top 3. And so as stated, we will be making our decision, our final decision on July 8th. This window of time that we have in the meantime is going to be used for in-depth background searches. So HYA will continue to do in-depth searches. I have also, and this is a FYI for the board as well, I have done 2 references so far for our candidates with their current district. The only candidate that I have not had a chance to complete the reference check for, I believe, is Dr. Griffin. But her contact communicated with me today, so I should be able to get that 3rd one wrapped up, and I will have their responses uploaded to the portal. And so we're gonna have the next week or so to get those background checks back. We'll give our board time to marinate on our candidates, our interviews, our applications, and their presentations today. We do invite the public back July 8th. You would like to give us additional comments at that time. But at this time, we are going to open the floor up for public comment. Our candidates are not here. They have exited the building. So if there's anyone that would like to give us your feedback at this time on what you've heard today, we are here to listen. If anyone would like to make a public comment on the presentations, you can choose not to, because I also understand that there's a certain dynamic that one of these individuals will be your boss. And so if you stand up and you say, go for candidate number 2, and we pick number 1, it might be a little uncomfortable. But we do want you all to feel comfortable being transparent today. So if you would like to make a public comment, please come to the forefront. It can be on your thoughts. It can be on your favorite candidate. It can be anything you like, because it's open public comment. And if you do not use the opportunity, keep in mind, we will make a decision, and you had this opportunity to allow us to hear your thoughts. So this is why we had the community forum, because we've been attempting to be completely transparent and allow the public to be a part of this journey every step of the way with us. So you have the floor.
Good evening. First and foremost, my name is Ashley Williams. I am a resident of Benton Harbor, 125 Parker Avenue. Teacher in the community, parent in the community. Currently, my children are not in Benton Harbor Area Schools District. They were for 3 years before I decided to pull them out for reasons for safety and literacy development. And so in that journey, what I found is that literacy development amongst Black children seems to be something that has been majorly focused on in disadvantaged districts. However, through my research, I've learned that this is a problem nationwide. And so when our candidate, Jeff Dace, got up and he had our data, that might have triggered me in a way that I had a response that I shouldn't have had a response. Maybe I felt like I was attacking him for the data, but I know based on the data that I've looked at countywide, statewide, is that proficiency is dropping all over. And to say that you can turn that around is a tall order, because it's dropping everywhere. That's why the science of reading is here, the science of teaching is here, and we're putting in things in place in our building grades 1 through 3 to make sure that we make improvements, and we're going to be the best at literacy instruction for our kids. I'm claiming that is happening. And so one of the things that I listen to hear Dr. Griffin She talked about phonemic awareness. She talked about building kids fluency. She talked about teaching kids at their just right level. So she has that knowledge about the science of reading and how to move kids forward, I believe. And also, Dr. Dallas Lee got up and I almost felt like I was at church. I wanted to ask him, like, man, are you a pastor? Like, where do you go to church at? And he was the one that spoke to my spirit about moving the needle for our kids. But I'm happy with either Dr. Griffin or Dr. Lee based on the evidence that they came and showed us, the things that I know and understand on how to listen to and look for when people are making decisions for improving outcomes for our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your transparency and for being bold and being the first one to get up and make that statement. I think you probably broke the ice for others. So I welcome any other comments. We would ask so. Yes, ma'am. The mic is there.
You can walk. You can walk. You have strength.
Good evening.
Strength.
I enjoyed and I was compelled by all three finalists, and I want to say a thank you and appreciation to the board for picking three dynamic finalists for our superintendency too.
Speak a little bit
I'm
louder.
sorry. Can you hear me now? I said I wanted to express some gratitude and appreciation to the school board for y'all picking three dynamic finalists for the superintendency. And in cohesion with everything that was said, I was moved by it. But the issue of school safety and accountability and our children feeling comfortable while they're at school came up. And one of the seniors who just graduated, Shania Khan, sent me a message on Facebook for me to read to the school board. And she had a lot of positive to say, but she wanted me to highlight specifically one of the things that she felt like the new superintendent should make an area of concern. And it says, one thing that I didn't like about my 4 years of high school is the staffing, security guards, teachers, and janitors, etc. The security guards were picking and choosing who to let slide in the hallways, who to pick with when it came to how we were dressed. I remember watching the security guards shaming the girl based off of how she looked or was built. They're supposed to make us feel safe in their environment that our parents want us to learn in, not judging us in any shape or form. Said that some teachers had their favorite students. When it came to the bathrooms, they were not cleaned all the way. Maybe they need some better cleaning supplies. And I read that because I know the district short staff is also a lot of accountability and discipline and structure being geared towards the students. But I'm asking y'all, whoever y'all pick for the superintendency, they able to develop and execute some type of full holistic healing and proper direction when it comes to our children. Like everybody got to be held accountable from the school board down to the janitor. Like I read a quote, you judge a boss by how you speak to the janitor, and they got to go uphill like that too. Because I've been conducting surveys all week from the middle school and high school students, and I plan to make them all public and send them to y'all emails as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. We'll stop right there.
Our secretary is going to provide you with some assistance.
This ain't the class for you. No.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And thank you all. Ooh, Mary Alice Adams. Formerly known as Commissioner Mary Alice Adams, still Commissioner Adams because I happen to be a commissioner for the planning and zoning for the city of Benton Harbor. I've spent, oh gosh, I've been a Brownfield Authority board member since 2002 to present. Oof, I'm formerly a commissioner for the city, the great city of Benton Harbor, Michigan, since 2011 to I served 12 years. Actually, I'm a proud resident taxpayer standing here because I'm responsible for some of the decisions that have been made for the growth that others seem to shine on. But what they don't understand, I appreciate each and every last one of you because the decisions we have to make as leaders is not hard, especially when you don't have money, nor people that you can tax to get any. See, St. Joe, they have a lot of doctors and lawyers and nurses and some that have went to, school, come home and they can pay their taxes because they have these jobs that one of the, world's largest appliance makers give a job to. We all know the story. I don't have to go there. But how dare anybody? I grew up in Ben Harbor. It used to be beautiful, black and white, where people got along. Then there was a couple of white flights that took place, and we were left to fend with nothing because they picked up the factories and took them with them. Now, if the thinkers that know how to really think outside the box could help us all do something that creating some jobs, not only jobs, but manufacturing to pay us so that we can create more safe spaces for our babies. Because everything costs, but not everything, because we knew how to get a jump rope. We knew how to get extension cord that we got a whooping wood and make a jump rope. We shot marbles and stuff. These children today are into different things, but we just want to create something where we can probably create ourselves a paycheck. I've sat downtown down there for $25 a meeting.
Commissioner Adams,
Years.
please wrap up your comment, your
Okay,
time
we
and
got
all.
terrific people that I've heard from here today. And I just hope and pray that I can get any of you to be on a call that's taking place Friday with Obama's people. We've been given 2 regional directors, and they want to hear from those that we plan on planting my brother and my sister's keeper right here in the school. And any money that comes through, come in here for our babies. I'd like somebody to email me, please, so I can get you.
I'm off every Friday, send
1
me the
o'clock.
information.
1 to 2.
Okay.
1 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, Brenda Terrell, educator in Benton Harbor area schools. So I listened to the candidates tonight and I was impressed, but I was mostly impressed by candidates 1 and 2. And if I put them in order, I'm gonna put them in order by 2 and 1. I'm gonna tell you, Dr. Simone Griffin, she brought it. I'm just gonna say it, she brought it. And she talked about curriculum, and you know how I feel about, you already know, I don't even want to get into that because I get myself worked up. But because it's about our kids, and the way she talked, it was almost like she knew how we felt. And we have to get somebody in here that can relate to us, that's really willing to put the work in. And I really believe that we can work well with her. Because, I have a 0 tolerance for foolishness. And I have a 0 tolerance for people messing with our kids. Because I'm not going to stand for it. I don't sugarcoat anything because I don't know how to do that. Because when you sugarcoat stuff, you start making people get confused of what you mean. And so I'm really looking forward. I don't know how you all are going to vote, but you say it. If we don't say it, I'm really looking forward to working with her. Okay.
Good evening, esteemed Board of Education.
Start the timer.
They'll start it. I know they will start it. How do they say that? I need to regain my time from that comment. But my name is Ronaldo Triplett. I am a proud graduate of the 103rd class of Ben Harbor High School, the class of 1978, where I served as the president of that class for 4 years. I am so proud to be a Tiger, but I want to say to my colleagues on this Board of Education, I am so grateful for the work that you all have done. I recused myself from the 2 sessions prior to. I have never visited the portal I will visit the portal tonight, but I want to say to you all that you all did an absolutely amazing job. I want to say to Dr. Collins, when you stood here, I asked you, can we trust you? And to HYA, had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago, just out of the blue, the Holy Spirit told me to go to the State Board of Education meeting. And I drove by myself. And when I went up there and I got in the room, I saw HYA there. And my mind immediately went to, got him. She's gonna come up here and tell them what's going on in Benton Harbor. And then I went back to our 7 norms of collaboration, because when they got up and they spoke, and to the representatives, I'm so glad I got an opportunity to see you all tonight as well. They got up and spoke. Dr. Collins and the team from HYA, they are assisting our state, the state of Michigan, the State Board of Education, in the selection of our new state superintendent. And so again, I know, we've been in trauma, and I know I don't like to say that. I'll take that back. I'm not going to claim that. I don't do the disadvantage. I've never met a child in Benton Harbor who introduced themselves as, I am disadvantaged Ronaldo Triplet. I am underserved Trenton Bowens. I am underprivileged. I've never met any of our kids speaking that language. But I do want to say, and I'm going to close out, thank you, Dr. Collins, for your professionalism, and to the HYA team, but to our board. I am so proud to be a part of this Board of Education. You all did an amazing job, and I think we should give them a round of applause for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have the floor.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So again, I agree. I feel you guys have selected 3 awesome candidates. They all had their positives. They all had their history, right? And the examples or outcomes that they have experienced. We've had a joke, or I've made a joke like Team Griffin already. However, right? And it's because it is holistic, right? I don't usually do or reference my wellness, but it is the process of including or represent the whole person, right? I don't know if we've had a person in place or that all of our teachers are inclusive of that, right? Whereas we are thinking about the child's mental, emotional, right? Even spiritual to an extent, because spiritual is your place in the world, right? We don't have to talk about a religion or denomination, but what is your space and place in the world? And just hearing her speak, you would feel that you had a place, whether you were a teacher, a student, vendor, grassroots, community entity. And so I feel that is what is needed in our community, someone that understands or is willing to be connected in every way, because we all need to do this work together, regardless if we just started, right, or have longevity in it, because there's new things that need to be utilized and made aware of that sometimes the kids know about it, and because the adult doesn't, it doesn't happen. And we have to remember that no child or most children do not learn the same. And so having that diversity, having that second and, plan A, B, C to Z if needed, it was apparent, and actually more than one applicant. But again, I just want to say thank you. I feel that we will be well with number 2. And you guys did an awesome job, though. I mean, I literally was thinking like, oh, I know someone was gonna be shortchanged in one area or another. And they all had different personalities, but they had the heart for our community. So either would be awesome. And again, they were great applicants.
Thank you. Any other feedback from the public?
Got our core team, right, that's coming to the mic. Thank you. Cindy Goodson again, Benton Harbor, class of 1986. 4-year vice president of this amazing class. I'm following your footsteps. My former varsity cheerleading coach, would see me coming home to visit, and I want to thank you. I would be home visiting when I was living in Houston over the years. He would say, Goodson, we need you. We need you. I would come home and be here for just a weekend. We need you. I said, okay, he would call me, we need you. And when we would be able to have a minute to talk for 2 seconds, say, well, what you need me to do? I don't know, but we need you. And I just want to thank you for just dropping that seed continually. I never in a 35 years being out of high school would have thought that I would be back here working here at Benton Harbor High School. But I'm here, and when I tell you, it has been life-changing, life-changing. I have transformed into someone who, these kids have opened my whole soul up in a way that I've never even thought that could happen. I'm learning so much about me through these high schoolers, through all the kids, but I'm here at the high school. Congratulations to every single board member. Y'all did that. The work of finding these amazing candidates. Of course, I agree, 2, then 1. They were all amazing, but 2, then 1, in that order. I didn't have a chance to ask the other 2 candidates about a plan. I would hope that y'all would do this for me as you're continuing the interview process. They touched on safety. Well, the 3rd candidate did, but I want to know what would be a real strategic plan, an idea for reducing the violence. And what does that look like? We know we have restorative justice. I'm part of that team. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That was my main thing. Please, if y'all can follow up with an action plan, because I know we've got the curriculums have to start. We have to start at the younger ages, but when they get to the high school, they're fighting and they want to fight so much. What can we do on top of everything that we're already doing and planning to do? What is their plan for anti-violence? Thank you.
Ms. Glisson, I want to make sure I noted what you said correctly. You indicated you had 2 favorites.
Number 2,
Dr. Griffin,
Dr. Griffin.
and then
Number
Mr. Dace.
Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other feedback from the public? All right, so we would like to thank you all. You did phenomenal today. I know that there were moments where I kind of reminded you all of the expectations as it relates to questions. I wasn't trying to be rude. I just wanted to make sure everyone had an opportunity to ask their questions and that we were equitable with the amount of time the candidates were speaking, that everyone got that same opportunity to be heard. So I wasn't attempting to be rude, just tried to make sure that we were able to get through and that the meeting moved fluidly. So at this particular time, one last reminder that we will be taking our vote on July 8th, which is next month. It's a Tuesday. I would like to first say thank you to the public for your feedback regarding the candidates. It's been extremely valuable. We do greatly appreciate your comments and your feedback that we have selected 3 amazing candidates. So we thank the public as well as Secretary Triplett for your feedback. I would ask, and I normally don't do this, but there are people that are missing today. I know that there are some on virtual, but we have a lot of community members that are missing. If you all could use the power of social media that we use when we have a concern about something, and express your experience this evening, how you felt, how you feel about the candidates. You don't have to go into personals, but just help us in getting the community engaged in what you experienced today so that we can make sure more people are in the loop regarding how amazing our candidates are, how impressed you were, and any additional thoughts that you have. That would be extremely helpful because anyone that did not come tonight can look at the video. So you can mention that they can check out the YouTube video to see the presentations, but they can also have an opportunity to give us their thoughts July 8th if they go back and watch the meeting. So I'm just asking that you all help us in communicating that information to the general public as well as on social media. So at this time, we are actually at the end of the meeting. I'm going to open up for board member announcements and comments. And we're going to start with Trustee Rockette Martin today. And a reminder before you start talking, pull your mic up really close.
Yes, ma'am. Nice and loud. I appreciate everybody being here today. I appreciate the comments that I've heard. And I may not say much at times, but I'm thinking and I'm taking it all in. And I'm the type of person, I don't make quick and ready judgments. And so I'm letting it all marinate and I'm keeping my options open. I've heard what you said. Don't think I haven't. I have, and so with that being said, I'm ready to give us a good superintendent. I appreciate the process that we had to go through. It was long. It was, we put some time in, we put some training in. This was not like an overnight thing, as you can tell. And so I told Dr. Collins, which is also my high school colleague, that you know, the process that we took, I'm happy with all three. And I'll say that in the way that we got eligible people. You know, we have people that can lead this work. However, we do have to make a choice. And so I've heard your voices. I have my own thoughts. And you know, I'm just gonna marinate and see how we all gel and come together to give you the best superintendent that you can have. And I promise, as a board, on my part, that I will support my superintendent.
Thank you, trustee Doyle.
Yes, I would like to just thank everybody for coming out. You guys, can you
Thank you.
hear me? It might be my mic because I'm right up on top of. All right. Okay, so I just would like to thank everyone for coming out. Your input was valuable, is valuable. I'm just looking at all the people, and these people I know and I've dealt with, and like I say, your input is important and it means a lot that you guys are here telling us, letting us know we're not making this decision by ourselves, because it takes a village. Like some of our people said, it takes a village. It takes all of us. And I'm grateful to see you all here. I'm grateful for the people that are watching. Please, please, please chime in on which ones you liked best. What else? I think that's it. You guys have a wonderful evening on purpose.
Thank you. Next, trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. Are we allowed to be candid about our thoughts on this, or?
This is your comment. No,
Okay.
this is your comment.
Okay. I came in, with a couple candidates at the top of my list, and I knew it would be challenging. It's a very good problem. Very good problem. But I know, one thing I knew was that our kids deserve the best. I knew that without a shadow of a doubt, that our kids deserve what we saw today. And I am beyond excited about this problem. But I came out after this experience real clear on a candidate, real clear on Dr. Griffin, real clear. I'm clear because what I heard and what I saw was genuine connection, clear solutions, clear actionable solutions as to how to get in here, get involved, and do what it takes to take our district where it needs to go, not just for the students, but every entity that is connected, that is needed in order for our district to be successful. And she had a clear plan of accountability, even for the vendors, even for the businesses, even for, for everybody who wanted, the grassroots organizations, anybody who wanted to be connected to this district. She had a clear plan of how to connect them, how to expand our resources, and how to hold everyone accountable, empower everyone to hold themselves accountable, including our children. And my main reason for sitting at this table or even being involved in anything is mental health support for our children. That's my reason. That's my purpose. That's my hidden agenda, right? And what I heard was a person who had a strategy for a mental health plan for everybody that connects to our children so that they can properly serve our children. So I'm leaving very clear on who I would love to see connect with our community and lead this district to the next level. Does that mean I'm not open? Does that mean that I don't want to? I absolutely want to hear what everyone has to say and what everyone's thinking. But from the folks that came to the podium, it sounds like we all are on the same page. And just lastly, one thing that I heard when she was speaking and I felt was that even people who don't necessarily get along can start getting along again, because the problems that we have been facing can be solved and we can be empowered to solve them together.
Thank you. And I would like to say, I appreciate your candidness and you breaking the ice as a board member and being bold enough to just lay it out there who you support. So thank you for that. Up next, we have Treasurer Bradley.
All right, good evening and thank you everyone for coming out. We thank you all for being involved and, helping us with this process. I will say this, I'm leaning towards candidate number one. Definitely with this central office experience, we're going to need that. But I'm not opposed to candidate number two either. So you can mark me down for that. The arduous task of selecting our next superintendent is winding down. It was not an easy task, to say the least. We've had some awesome candidates, but I am glad that we are getting it done. Will everyone be happy? We hope so, but we all can agree to disagree. And with that, we must be careful how we disagree. Next, now that we are putting in place a new leader, let's remember how we got down this road. Our outlook as a board must change. With our vote, we are saying we trust this person to lead us. So let them do the job that they were hired for. And yes, it will take some time for us to get to know them and for them to get to know us. And no, I'm not saying we don't have our concerns, but we must be mindful that we are here to govern. Starting now, let's watch how we address our employee, the superintendent, one another, and our staff members. Let's focus on governing and not micromanaging. Let's stay out of the weeds and maintain our 25,000 to 50,000 foot view. We are not involved in the day-to-day operations of the district. And if that's an issue for some of you and you get upset when I or others say this, then you really need to do some self-reflecting and ask yourself, what or who am I serving for? A favorite passage of scripture of mine says it like this: do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look not to his own interests, but rather to the interests of others. Philippians 2, 3, and 4. Let's make sure that we inform staff and members of the community to follow the chain of command to address complaints. It's not that we are not concerned about your issues. We are concerned, but there is a proper way of going about getting things done. And when it is appropriate, we as a board will step in. Give our central admin team and the superintendent time to address the concerns and issues. Let's not gaslight the community and make molehills into mountains. Let's focus on moving forward and not looking back. This is not about you or me, things not going my way or your way, personal agendas or personal grievances. This is about moving this district further into the 21st century. With all that is going on around us locally, at the state level, federally, and around the world, we cannot continue to have a small-minded view of issues. It's much bigger than that. We must think big picture. And then the other thing I saw in Leaderboard magazine from MASB, which was very timely, they had an article for the board members on page 36, the red carpet treatment, discussing onboarding a new superintendent by Jay Bennett, one of the facilitators at MASB. So check that out, and I'm glad that was in there. You all have a good evening, and thank you for coming out.
What page was that, Brian?
That article is on page 34, the red carpet treatment. Onboarding a new superintendent requires careful planning, clear communication, and ongoing support.
Thank you. They told me you had a hot statement written up. I knew you were coming. All right, up next we have Secretary Triplett.
Thank you, Madam President, and I am so grateful for what AI brings to the table.
These are my own thoughts. Thank you.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about you. I wouldn't dare do that. I wasn't talking about you, but again, like I said, I'm so appreciative for AI and what it actually brings to the table, and it takes us to the next level. Today has been a special day for me. Today is my mom's birthday. And I had a chance to talk to my father and my siblings, and we miss our mother so much. But I could see her saying, you got to go and you got to continue to do the work. As I said, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and you all look so amazing on the other side of this table. Really look dignified and all of those things. When you back in the back, you grunting, leaning, and being slick at your mouth and all of those things. But again, to HYA, thank you for a job well done. We appreciate your professionalism. We appreciate your integrity in this process. And also, this is my first time hearing and seeing them, and I was very, very, very impressed. I am not at this particular time prepared. Yeah. Yes, I'm not particularly prepared at this particular time to say who I'm leaning towards. There's still yet some more work to be done as we go through and HYA finish the last step in closing out the process. But again, to this community, I prayed about this. So I know that God is going to give us the very, very best for our children. And I'm so appreciative to our president. As always, I want to give you defer to you and to let you know that I do appreciate your leadership. To Trustee Gavin, I appreciate you standing on the wall and just staying on the wall, regardless of what others may have thought, others may have said. I appreciate it. And to all of you all are doing an absolutely amazing job. As Cindy said, I was her cheerleading coach. And I was a coach here. I was a Tiger mascot, and I was a coach here for 28 years. And some phenomenal women and young men came out of that program. As a matter of fact, our president was one of my varsity cheerleaders as well. So it's greatness in Ben Harbor. I cringe when people say negative things. It's greatness. It's greatness here. And this is the season of quality versus quantity. So I started here with 15,000 students. I was formally educated from kindergarten to 12th grade. There were 15,000 students in this district. And for me now to see 1,200 and 1,300, I've been through it all. So sometime if I get a little, I've lived it. Okay. So again, thank you so very, very much to my colleagues, and you guys rock this. And I'm looking forward to finding out who's going to be our new superintendent on July the 8th, because whoever it is, we're going to go in a great direction. Amen.
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 All right, thank you. Vice President Bowens.
Thank you. Mr. Dace brings a calm demeanor. Dr. Griffin brings that it factor. Dr. Leaf reminds me of President Obama giving a great speech. It makes you believe again. But what really got me was when she talked about the restorative justice plan, where the kid gives their side of a story. Back in 1998, a little kid did a strike at a school. He just wanted to read that book. It was the Robinson Crusoe book. The teacher said no, it was too advanced for his grade level. So he watched the news and see Northwest Airlines was going on strike. So he got a strike paper and told his teacher, if I don't read the book, I'm not doing no work. Well, his parents believed if that teacher called, you were in trouble. And he didn't get to tell that side of that story. He got a whooping when he got home. He did win and get to read that book. So I like that part where the kid gets to tell that story. That kid that got that whooping and went on strike was me. So oftentimes we don't get to tell that story and get to hear the kid thing. And I think that's extremely important. But when we're looking at who we want to lead the district, they may say what they want to say about us, but we bring that swag, we bring that pride, we bring that it factor. And it's time for us to own it.
Yes, yes.
And let's be proud. We're from Benton Harbor Tiger. And when I was in Detroit, we used to come to the games and just be geeked to be under the Tiger mantra. I was a Cavalier at that time. If I was to vote today on my top two, I would select Dr. Griffin and Mr. Lee. If I was able to select my top one, it would be Dr. Griffin. I believe it is time for us to bring bold, unapologetic, strong leadership. I think this would set us into a new direction, and the candidates were amazing. It's just Dr. Lee has it for me, and that's who my vote would go for. Thank you and God bless.
Dr. Lee?
I'm sorry, Dr. Griffin, sorry. Sorry. I told you it's, it's the it factor. Both were good. Dr. Griffin was the best.
All right, so I am the final one. I'll make it as brief as possible. I would like to say thank you to my Board of Education. We have had many challenges, many hot topics, many discussions and debates and fallout. I think out of everything we have ever done, this is the most cohesive we have ever been. And God works in mysterious ways, because in my 5 years on the board and 4 years as president, this was the most intimidating process I have ever had to initiate. And I could only imagine what it was going to be like to come to a consensus at the board table, to try to be in alignment with what the public wants, the profile that we selected. There's so many factors that was involved, and understanding, as I stated earlier, that this does not just impact the current stability of Benton Harbor area schools, but we are impacting Benton Harbor area schools' trajectory and essentially making or breaking the district. And so I know that there has been communications in the public from individuals that may not have been in interviews, were unaware of what the candidates brought, and there has been doubt expressed by the candidates that we selected. I think it's very important that the public knows that every individual that is sitting at this board table is dedicated to the well-being and success of not only Benton Harbor area schools, but our students and our staff. And so I just want to put it on the record, and I know that this is a little bit different than what everyone else has said, but I find it professionally offensive that anyone would ever indicate that we would choose candidates who were not the best options out of the pool that we have. I have a student that attends Fair Play Middle School, as well as Trustee Gavin. We also have grandkids, nieces and nephews that attend the district. So it's just not about the community's kids. This is the future of our children as well that we have been charged to protect, and we are doing our best to do so. And so I just want to honor you all for coming, for giving us your ears, your voice, and taking this journey with us, so that we can know that we didn't just do this as 7 people who are often judged by all of our municipalities, but we actually made a community effort. So today I honor you. I thank you. I'm extremely excited about the future. And I do have a candidate in mind. Each time my trustees ask me, I say, oh, I don't know. I do have a candidate. I have 2 favorite. I won't say which are my 2 favorite, but one of them, when they were speaking, I could see myself walking into a building with that individual and presenting as the board president and the superintendent. I could see it. And so I will just leave it at that. I am pretty certain I know who my candidate is, but I will allow God to continue to speak to me, and I will continue to look at what the public says as well. So again, I ask that you all please call your friends, your coworkers, get on social media, communicate about this process so that we can have others involved July 8th. And with that being said, I thank you all. I thank the board. I thank our amazing staff. And again, thank you to Dr. Bernick for standing in the gap in this transition.
You can do it. You can do it.
All right. So one last reminder, we do have a budget hearing Thursday at 5:30. And then we have the budget amendments and approvals at 6:30. Just want to make sure that the public is aware of that. We've made public notice, but I'm telling you now, we'd like you to come back. Also, a reminder to the board, and I know they're probably like, what? We still have that meeting. So that is all I have. So without further ado, is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Is there a
Support.
second or support? The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carries, Madam President.
All right, meeting is adjourned as of 8:54 PM. Have a great evening.
Thank you.